Greetings from Hollywood, Florida. My name is Ryan Alexander. I am here today on behalf of my friend and Denison broker, Alex Clarke. I'm here to show you one of his latest listings. This is a 74-foot Sunreef that goes by the name of WILDBERRY. A few things you need to know about this boat. One, this is a great option whether you are an owner-operator or if you're looking for an experienced crew. This yacht is manageable enough for you and one more to run yourselves, or if you want to have the crew throw in an extra hand and you just sit and enjoy the view, this is a great platform for that. And then she's got 4 staterooms below deck, 2 cabins in the starboard side, 2 cabins in the port side. The master is a perfect example of what I love about the interior of this boat. You step down inside, it's calm, it's peaceful, but it's full of light finishes and really feels like home. Over the next 10 or so minutes, I'm gonna be showing you every space that I've gone through over the last day and a half and show you why WILDBERRY is one of the best opportunities on the brokerage market today. There are essentially 3 different spaces here in the Salon. The first is the seating area, the living area aft. These tables can be raised and lowered electrically, but they can also expand to make one large tabletop, allowing you to seat about 10. And if you just want to sit, this is the spot to do it. Right over here on the port side, you've got an L-shaped sofa over here, so whether it's a conversation pit, you got the whole family, or if you just want to lay out and read a good book, there's no better spot to do it. Right next to this is this coffee table. This spot's cool because it is storage for the owner's underwater camera housings. From what I understand, he usually walks right over here, sits down after he takes his photos, pops down the TV over here on the port side where he can spend hours editing. The entertainment package throughout the whole boat is tied together so you can control it with an iPad. The guts of these units are down here, but like I said, the owner likes to sit over here in the corner and edit on his computer. So what they have are all these plugs over here. So in addition to your USB plugs for charging electrical outlets, you also have HDMI inputs. So you can just plug your laptop directly in. And the second important space here in the Salon is this lower helm. Obviously there is an upper helm, and what we find down here is replicated up there, but we find everything we need, from a pair of Raymarine chart plotters, controls for the water maker, a series of Raymarine data displays, as well as the stop-start controls for your generator. Just beyond this is the third area of the Salon that really matters, and that is this breakfast bar right here. This is a custom edition. They worked with Sunreef to have this built. Not only do you have a sink and countertop space here, you also have a U-line 30-bottle wine cooler, as well as a Raritan ice maker. Now that we've finished taking a look at the Salon, we are going to head down here on the starboard side and take a look at the first of the 4 guest accommodations. This stateroom has an athwartship queen berth with 3 hull-side windows at the foot of the bed. Everywhere you look in here, there's a ton of storage. This cabin also features an ensuite head and shower on the forward side. From here, we're going to head back up to the main deck, aft and down, to take a look at the owner's accommodation. I've probably been on 20 Sunreefs, and not only are they all different, but this is the first 2015 that I've been on. And the design in here, the style, is totally different than any of the other boats that I've seen. You've got a brushed oak finish on the walls as well as underfoot. Like the last cabin, there is an athwartship berth, but this one is king size instead of queen. You can walk around on both sides. And then the cabinetry that we find underneath the whole side windows continues aft to a desk. Aft of this desk is where we reach the storage area. If you got a lot of stuff, you are in luck because there is a ton of storage in here. You've got hanging lockers and drawers, 1, 2, and all along this aft bulkhead right next to a dressing mirror with the ensuite on the opposite side. But as you walk towards the ensuite, we see that there's a TV on a lift at the foot of the bed. Finally in here, we have the bathroom. So we've got a stall with the head here on the inboard side, a twin vanity, as well as a shower stall with a glass door. Before we take a look at cabin 3, it's worth noting that most of the doorways here, standard door with a knob on it. Here on the master, to keep the cabin a little bit bigger, you've got a sliding pocket door. Stateroom number 3 is over here on the port side. As you see, you've got a lower berth and an upper berth. This cabin comes in handy if you are an owner-operator because it serves as a stateroom. Currently, the captains are in rotation, so the captain and his wife can stay in this cabin here. They've got their own ensuite, and you head forward, a ton of storage on the inboard bulkhead, anything that your guest or first in command could need. Before we take a look at the next cabin, connecting the two is the boat's laundry center here, stacked Miele washer and dryer, which is just a few feet away from stateroom number 4. Here in this cabin, we have an extra berth that was added. So this boat being custom built, the owner has a handicapped member in the family. And so what this allows them to do is lay this down, and you can have a spot for the caretaker and for their family member. It also helps that this room has just as much storage as any of the other cabins, as well as a private ensuite here forward. In this ensuite, you've got a shower stall here, you've got a sink, and you also have this door. This is a watertight door. When you open it up, this gives you access to the crew cabin that's forward. So you can access this 2 ways. So one from the top deck, and the second one is down here. Now that I've shown you the guest accommodations, the next thing that we're going to take a look at is the galley, which is aft here on the port side, 6 steps down from the main deck. The first thing that I think when I step into this space is how huge is this area? This is a full chef's galley in here. You've got everything that you need to prepare meals for your family and plenty of storage for your provision. In terms of appliances that we have in here, we've got a pair of cold drawers right next to our refrigerator and freezer. Beyond that, we've got a 5-burner Miele cooktop directly below a vented hood. When you look the other direction, you see not only how much countertop space that you have, but that you've got a twin basin sink, as well as a full-size Viking oven and Miele microwave convection oven. The last thing that I want to point out in here before we wrap up on the interior is this door right here. This swings open, opens up onto the aft deck. This is really convenient when you're handing food back and forth, but especially when you're provisioning the boat. So you're walking down with your dock cart, you get all your bottles of water, all your food. This is where you can hand it directly from the main deck down to the galley without having to use an interior staircase. With this galley hatch closed, we find ourselves here on the aft deck. But before we break down this space, the first thing I want to show you back here is the tender system. To get this thing on and off the boat, you've got a unique davit system. It's operated overhead here, so the tender will move away from the stern and drop down directly into the water behind the boat. And then immediately forward of the davit here, we have this little lazarette storage locker here. In here we've got 8 dive tanks. The owners of this boat, they love diving, so this is perfect for them. This is, after all, a catamaran, so there are 2 engine rooms on this boat, one port and starboard under these hatches here. With these open, you see that this boat has all the redundant systems that she needs. In addition to a pair of turbocharged Yanmar 240 horsepower engines, we also have a pair of water makers, as well as a dive compressor for filling up those dive tanks. Now it's time for us to take a look at the aft deck. This really is one of the most important parts of this boat. When you step on board, this is the first area you see. So it helps that you've got a ton of seating and lounging space back here. Most notably is this dinette. As you currently see it, you've got a varnished teak tabletop here with seating for 6. However, this can be expanded, allowing you seating for 8. Just outboard over here on the port side, we kind of took a look over here, but you do have this hatch accessing the galley as well as a day bed. There are actually 2 of these, one to port, one to starboard. This one on the port side is next to the staircase that brings us up. The teak looks awesome all throughout this boat. When we took a look at the bar inside, what we were looking at was primarily a breakfast bar. This right here is your official wet bar. You got a pair of bar stools, transparent countertop here, and then just a few feet away is where we have the wet bar itself. You have an almost exaggerated amount of countertop space if you want to use this as a buffet. And you've got a refrigerator as well as a pair of cold drawers underneath. And then rounding out the wet bar configuration, over on the port side below the stairs is an ice maker. The next space for us to take a look at is here on the foredeck. The sun, as you can see, is kind of setting behind me. At a time like this is the spot where you want to be. Even just sitting here in the slip, you feel the breeze. If you're underway and you're laying on the newly refinished trampolines here, you'd have water, maybe a little spray up here. This is a dreamy location, whether you're underway or whether you're at anchor. We've got a handful of deck hatches up here. I wanted to point out this one. We were down in the crew cabin. That's what this opens into, just for reference of where we're at. And I really love these dolphin chasing seats forward here. This is a great spot to sit. Captain just revarnished these. You also see the varnish work continue with a tow rail around the outside. From this position here, you get a sense of the magnitude of this boat. This is the biggest boat in this marina with the tallest mast on it. It's really incredible. In between the trampolines here, center line is where we have our ground tackle. We've got a pair of windlasses on chains that draw our anchors. And forward of the anchors is where we have a roller furling Genoa, as well as our bowsprit. This boat is equipped for a spinnaker up front or a code 0 if you want to pick up a bunch of extra speed. Also worth pointing out up here is this second hatch over on the starboard side. Below this is a storage locker for everything from wakeboards, foil boards, to your life vests, even fenders. The other spot for you to lay out if you're not on these trampolines are these sun pads, port and starboard. While you're looking aft up here, this is where you appreciate the windshield on these boats. It wraps all the way around, gives you plenty of visibility from inside, whether you're just hanging out in the living area or running the boat from the lower helm. But if you aren't inside, most likely you're finding yourself up here on the Flybridge. This is the last spot that I want to show you. I love how easy it is to access this area from the main deck, whether you're on the bow or on the aft deck. This brings us to the sail plan. We have a roller furling mainsail here, standing by this boom bang. This is how big this boat is. This is a massive boat. It can catch a ton of wind when all of her sails are deployed, making her a dream to sail. You can see that all of your lines are color-coded. They're on top of the deck right here. It makes it really easy to communicate with your significant other or the crew when you're raising and lowering the sails. Before, during, and after you raise your sails, this is where you run your boat from. From this spot, you have essentially everything that you had at the lower helm. Main difference is you have a single multifunction display here, but everything else is essentially identical. If you're in inclement weather or the wind is whipping what feels like 100 miles an hour in your face, you're going to be glad that you have this isinglass enclosure here. And this enclosure is actually seen throughout this entire space. So when you face aft and you're looking at the lounging area, the whole area can be enclosed. So that means when it's cold, you can still use the area. When it's raining, windy, you can still use the space. WILDBERRY is equipped with a hardtop. What makes this hardtop different, and I really like this, is it doesn't run the full beam up here. Sometimes you're stuck underneath this massive hardtop in the shade, and the only light that you get is through a tinted window overhead. This is great because you've got clean shade on the inside here, and like I said, the area can be closed in. Or if you want to be in the sun, you can step just outside, and you've got sun pads that wrap around this entire area. That's what really makes this spot stand out, the number of sun pads and the amount of seating. One other byproduct of this hardtop not running the full beam of the boat is that you have plenty of space for things like this. You got a lot of water toys that won't fit in that forward locker. You've got kayaks, you've got stand-up paddle boards, you've got a rowing canoe. The layout of this Flybridge allows you not only to take them with you, but it's easy to get these toys on and off the boat when you want to use them. Thank you so much for joining me on board WILDBERRY for today's walkthrough. Again, my name is Ryan Alexander. I am here on behalf of Alex Clarke of Denison Yachting. If you have any questions about this boat, if you'd like to get your eyes on a spec sheet, you can reach out to Alex directly. He can get you on board. Would love to hear from you. Thanks.